Hi, this is Michael from BinaryCafe.com with another Brainy Face project video. This picture was not taken with a digital SLR camera. It was taken with this Sony DSC-RX100 that can easily slip inside your pants pocket or your purse. You almost forget it's there, it's so small. I bought the camera back in June of 2012, so I've had it for a year and I beat the thing up all the time. I take it with me when I travel, throw it in my pants pocket. I didn't even buy a camera bag because I want to be able to shoot pictures with it quickly. What I remember got me so excited about this camera was the fact that in its small form factor, with its very small size, it's got a bigger sensor. The CMOS sensor in this camera is a 1-inch type. So it's not as big as a sensor in a digital SLR, but it is significantly larger than other cameras at this price point or at this particular form factor size. It shoots 20.2 megapixel images. You can shoot them in JPEG or RAW, which is really cool. And it's got a Carl Zeiss lens on the camera, which is capable of doing 3.6 optical zoom and also an aperture of, well, it's f1.8, so you can shoot in really low light situations. Those 20.2 megapixel images will be stored to a memory card, which is not supplied with a camera. You need to buy that separately. It supports SD cards, SDHC, SDXC, or Sony memory sticks. So you've got a few different options there. And the battery that they give you is the NPBX1, and that battery needs to be charged when it's inside the camera by using the supplied micro USB cable. You can use the USB cable for data transfers between the computer using USB 2.0, but it's also used for charging. And I don't find that to be the most convenient thing in the world. So I bought some extra batteries, which actually have 1700 milliamp hours as opposed to the supplied battery, which is 1240 milliamp hours. So those third-party batteries have more juice, and I can use the AC battery charger outside of the camera to charge up extra batteries when I'm using the camera. So you might want to take a look at the links on the website to check out those accessories. The form factor of the camera itself looks pretty familiar. I love the Sony DSC-RX100 camera, and it's a great camera, but it's got a smaller sensor. So the two cameras next to each other are very, very similar. The RX100 has a good solid build to it. It's nice and solid, and it's got a little thumb grip on the back there that's textured to help you hold it, but it lacks the ergonomic grip that the HX9V had. So I do like to use the wrist strap because my hands sometimes get sweaty when I'm outdoors, and I don't feel like this camera is as easy to hold. The plus side of that is the fact that it slips in and out of my pocket so easily without having to have a big grip on the front. There are a lot of buttons on the back: dedicated movie button, function button, menu button. If you press that menu button, you will get lost in a sea of options. You've got camera settings, movie settings. You can change to different movie file formats. This camera supports up to 1080p at 60 frames per second, high definition video using the NTSC format. With PAL, it's 50 frames per second, but you've got a lot of different options there. You can even change the auto review. You can turn it off, increase the number of seconds. So lots of options. That control ring on the front has a lot of functionality as well, and you can even customize that. So you can tell it, I want it to change ISO or picture effects or zoom, and it's the same with the other buttons around the back of the camera there. You can customize the function button and also the jog dial. You can use it as a little wheel to spin it clockwise or counterclockwise, but you can also change the functionality when you press left, right, up, or down. The flash mode can be optimized. You've got a few different settings there. If you set the flash to on, it'll automatically pop up that little LED flash. It's kind of a weird design there. It feels a little sensitive, but I haven't had any issues. I thought it would break right away, but it's been pretty solid, and you just fold that back down in order to recess it. And if you're at a place where you can't shoot flash, you can use the built-in scene settings. It's got a lot of different modes that'll automatically change your shutter, your aperture, and ISO ratings for you for fireworks, gourmet food, pets, anti-blur. There are a lot of different options. So there are many different settings, and that's a great thing about this camera, but it could also be a challenge for beginners because there's so many different options to go in and change. And I often find myself wondering, how do I get to HDR, or how do I go in and change to tilt shift mode? And there's just a lot of different settings, but practice makes perfect. The fact that the camera does not have a viewfinder is not a huge problem because it does have a sunny weather setting, which basically just makes the screen super, super bright. It's a gorgeous screen anyway. So you can do that when you're shooting outdoors. And it does have a panorama mode as well. That provides you with the ability to perform landscape photos, and you can stitch them seamlessly inside the camera. You just basically stand there and move from left to right or up to down, and it takes those panoramas. If you want to share your video or pictures with friends and family, you probably want to buy a micro HDMI cable, which is not supplied with the camera because there's a micro HDMI port on the bottom of the camera. So in a nutshell, you've got a 20.2 megapixel camera that shoots JPEG or RAW, and it's got a 1-inch type sensor, and that sensor is a really good sensor, which is wonderful for low light situations, and you can check that out here in the video. Most cameras that are small like this, if you shoot video in the dark, they get this really grainy quality and it doesn't look good. This camera in low light situations takes creamy, smooth video, and it's really good the way it captures all the hue and saturation. I capture my video at 60 frames per second, and it's just silky smooth. I went to the aquarium and I just loved getting the video of the whale sharks and all of the different fish in there. And the sound quality is pretty good too because it has stereo mics on the top of the camera, and they're pretty sensitive. You can turn off audio recording on the camera in the options. I don't know why you'd want to do that, but you can. Now for the video, you have the ability to do tracking. So like that little guy right there with the kind of weird helmet on his head, that fish, I was able to set tracking on him so that it kept him in focus. And with the depth of field on this camera, you can focus on just a teeny little part of an animal or a person, and that can present some challenges when you're doing that nice bokeh effect, but you can get some really nice, creamy, smooth backgrounds in the background because of the aperture, the size of the sensor, and the quality of the lens. It all comes together to create some really good images. When you're outdoors, you can shoot video and take in a very wide angle scene. Remember, you can do 28mm wide angle, and you can pull that back and it looks great. When I'm traveling and I have a backpack and I have a suitcase and I have one hand free, I can reach for that camera, I can pull it out, hit the on button, I can be recording video in no time at all because of the dedicated movie button. And traveling with this camera is a lot of fun because it just allows you to capture all the stuff that's around you in a very inconspicuous way. With a digital SLR, that tends to attract attention, but with a camera like this, it's so small, I don't think most people realize that you're shooting such high quality, high def video because it just kind of blends into the background. And the camera is capable of capturing the video at 60 frames per second, so for high motion, it looks great. One of the issues that I find with this camera is it can overheat. In the hot Georgia sun, this camera actually overheated a few times while shooting this. You can see where it went beyond the optical zoom to digital zoom there, and it does degrade in quality a little bit. Overall pretty good, but be aware of the fact that if you're shooting outdoors and shooting video for a while, the camera can overheat. That 60 frames per second is great for slow motion too. The camera itself doesn't do the slow motion. You have to achieve that effect by slowing the footage down in video editing software, but it's 60 frames per second for NTSC. It's really nice quality. All right. On to the still pictures. These were low light pictures taken at the aquarium with the flash off, and it's just fun to go in and use the different modes. You've got artistic effects. You can do posterized images here. All of these effects were achieved in camera on site with no editing afterwards. And that picture right there, I had a couple ladies with digital SLRs who were taking lousy pictures, and they couldn't believe the quality of the images I was getting with this little camera here by pulling it out of my pocket. That bokeh effect, maintaining focus on one particular thing and blurring out the background, is a lot of fun. You've got different scene modes that allow you to capture food, and it changes the settings so that that's optimized. But in outdoor situations, even without a tripod, you can get some really incredible effects there. It's just, yeah, I mean, it looks almost like a digital SLR, just in terms of quality, and the fact that you can just pull this camera out of your pocket to get these pictures here is pretty impressive. So photos of flowers, photos of food and stuff like that. This was a picture of a tabletop at a theme park, and that just turned out amazing. So creamy, smooth backgrounds. Gotta love that. The panorama mode, as I mentioned before, is pretty easy to use, and you can go from left to right, up, down. It captures nice high quality panoramic images. Another thing I like about this camera is you can hand it off to somebody, and if you put it into the intelligent auto mode, it's just easy for them to press a button and take a great picture, which is way more challenging with the digital SLR. You've got some filter modes as well. Overall, I just have to say this is a great pocket camera. Highly recommend it. Check out the site for more links. If you have any questions, let me know. Otherwise, Sony DSC-RX100. Wonderful, fun camera. Thanks for watching. Bye.